What's going down, Commanders? Hope everyone's doing fine this morning. I want to discuss the factions, and I'm getting more and more people PM me or leave comments on videos. How do I change faction? Right now, none of us can change faction. None of us can decide which faction we want to be. And if you look at every single faction, I'll run through them quickly, you'll notice there's no buffs. There's 0 buffs to be in a certain faction and making sure you've got a certain faction's units in the platoon. There's no buffs attached to any of these anymore. And this is where Kixeye have changed it, where they want us all to go to this base weakness, I think it's called, which in my mind is a load of bullshit anyway, but it is what it is. But I'd also like to see the factions back. And the problem that Kixeye, the way Kixeye are looking at the factions, is they don't want them to be, or one faction to be too powerful over another faction. But they keep giving them crappy buffs. If you give a faction a crappy buff, people ain't going to go to that faction. If you give every single one of these factions a kind of a superpower for us, for the players that actually put together the units to be able to be that one faction and go attack a base, it should add a superpower. I don't mean overkill, but it should be something that makes it more important, more viable to be in that faction. And that way, you could also make a bit of moolah if we pick the wrong faction for an event or a single base or whatever. And I would drastically reduce the cost of changing factions. 5 days and 100 coins is a joke. And reduce that down to a point where if we do make a mistake, it's going to cost a bit of coin, but it's not going to break the bank at the same time. And make sure each faction has got a kind of a superpower, something that players can go, right, I like the units in this faction, I'm going to try to be this faction for that event, and then I'm going to work and see if this faction is viable to play in this event. And it may turn out that it isn't, and we have to pick another faction. But as long as you make sure each one of them is kind of a good talent or a good buff, people are going to then pick their favourite factions and decide which one they want to play with and how they want to play the game, instead of you trying to choose for us what faction we should be, where we should be in the game. It's nonsensical. It really is, and you're literally breaking the players' trust towards the developers of the game with what you're producing in the game right now. We don't need to, you don't need to continuously try to destroy things that we like. Okay, you look at the previous renditions of the faction. Obviously, Sentinels was the best. But if the other two at the time, because we only had 2 more and neutral, if the other two's buffs were on par with that, it wasn't just a stupid, immunity to cryo, and then it was immunity to something else, to slow-mo or whatever it was. If you made sure the buffs were on par with the Sentinels one, we would have a hard time picking which one to choose. And and in the previous one before that, survivors were overpowered. Where it's not one of them should be overpowered. Each one of them should have a power that suits the faction, and it is a hard choice for the players to pick from. It should be a hard choice. It shouldn't be, let's try to reduce this down. Eventually, you've had to get rid of it because you don't like the way the Sentinels faction works. And before that, the way you call them Rangers now, but the Survivors in my eyes, you didn't like the way Survivors were working previously. So each rendition, you're making it worse and worse for the players. You're not making any improvements to the game. You're actually trying to reduce what the players can use. You're trying to narrow it down so we use what you want us to use, basically. And if we haven't got that X, Y, Z unit, we're kind of stuck. And then you're trying to strong arm players into spending money on units that we probably only going to be good for a month or 2. You know, you even looking back at the previous event, because you're trying to get rid of Malachi, you made that new heir look like crap. It's probably the best heir we've had in probably 2. Let's have a look. I'm going to say 2 series, but I think I may be wrong. Call it 1 series. So that heir is better than all of this heir put together, but it's not better than all this heir put together, because they are better in their day, and the Warhogs were better in their day, and Albert Ross, and so it was probably better than the Richard and Lionhearts. That's probably where it was better. But trying to trying to reduce these factions down so that there's zero, there's no benefit. It's kind of defeating the object. The whole point of it is if the players can put the toons together to get a base done with a certain faction, the buff should be there to help improve the game, not a crappy little 10% buff to damage as standard across the board, and then you get immune to cryo or immune to slow-mo. The 10% that should stay. Survivor should go back to 100% Warlust. Then you should come up with a decent buff for the Corpus, a real good decent buff. So it's hard for us to pick which one. And then obviously Equinox, when you're ready, should get a decent buff as well for using full Equinox units. But no, you just want to harm the game more than you're helping the game at this point. Look at Retaliation. No one's happy about Retaliation, or very, very few people are happy about Retaliation. But you're just ignoring the fact, you're glossing over the fact, and then you're putting out a post saying, we have made improvements. I've not seen an improvement in Retaliation. I got it done, I think it was Saturday morning, and I haven't barely played the game since then. I might have been logged in, but it doesn't mean I'm playing. And that's the way you're pushing the players. They're going to get the events done. Don't log in for 5 days, especially with the way PvP is right now, and then play the next event. That's the only thing I can suggest. Do Shadow Ops, play the next event, get it done as quickly as you can without spending too much coins. Wait 5 days, 6 days for the next event. And that's just the way the game's going to go, because Kixeye are not listening. They put out a survey the other week asking us how to improve PvP. They've still not come up with any ideas about PvP. They still don't understand that Holdout was the gateway to this game. It was literally... it was literally the event that gave the players that didn't have all the units, all the top tier stuff, it gave them a way into the game without spending too much money. And you can't start demanding players spend money before they're actually playing the game proper. You've got it. That takes time to convert a player into a customer. As such, it's just greed, and it's ongoing. It looks like an ongoing theme with Kixeye. Just 100% greed, 100% money grab. And at this point, lots of people are looking the other way and trying to find other games to play. I know I am. I've looked at one, I think it's called Tempest Rising. It is a real-time strategy. I will be looking into purchasing that over the next month or so, because I just can't trust this company anymore. And it's a shame, because the premise, the actual base of the game, there is nothing out there like it. You can look at Clash of Clans. You don't really control your units in Clash of Clans, so it's not a real-time strategy game as such. You know, and all the copies of Clash of Clans are the same as Clash of Clans. I think it's Clash of Clans, I might be wrong. But you need to improve the game instead of trying to fucking take away from the game, in my opinion. Just improve on things. Holdout never needed to go. The factions never needed to go. If anything, you needed to improve Corpus and Sentinels factions before you actually did the improvement, and then before you did the previous update to this. You needed to improve what they gave, rather than take away, subtract. And it's a shame. It's a shameful way to go about doing the game. It really is. I just thought I'd put my 2 cents out there, guys. Other than that, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.